أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين أما بعد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وأعلام التقى. Today's session is going to cover this line وأعلام التقى. So again we have here the rule of atf. Atf, as we've explained, is when you use something like the waw, the wa, to join this to what has gone before. So essentially here what we are saying is, we are saying Assalamu ala a'lamit tuqa. Instead of repeating Assalamu ala, we just use the waw and it carries on what went before and it connects it with this. Now this sentence, this line of the Ziyarat, both Agha Jawadi and Ayatollah Zia Abadi Marhum have given a very lengthy examination. So this actually may take 2 or 3 sessions. Of course, we will condense it as much as we can and we will only explain the main part. So today is all from the writings of Ayatollah Jawadi. The first thing is, let's discuss the words as normal. The words are A'lam and Tuqa. A'lam is plural of Alam. And this is from the root ilm. An alam, okay, now in our culture, we only say, for example, the alam of Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam. But if you look at the root word and what it means in its literal sense, then an alam is that thing by which a matter is known. So for example, a signboard, a sign, a road sign, a sign on the side of the road that guides people and informs them is called alam. And then we have the word tuqa. Tuqa in meaning is the same as taqwa. This comes from the root waqaya, which means to use something to protect and defend against a danger. Hence, a shield is called wiqaya from the same root, because a shield protects a person from danger. Now, an alam, a sign or a signpost, is used everywhere. In all countries and societies, they all use symbols and signs, and they use them to convey a particular message. And when people see those signs, they immediately understand what is being conveyed by the one who put the sign there in the first place. Like what, for example? Like the moment we see, for example, black flags, we know that this is, for example, azadari, some kind of mourning. Or we see, for example, people wearing black armbands in sporting events. We know immediately that there's some kind of mourning or they're remembering someone who has died. When we see very colorful, posters and signs and that kind of thing, lots of colors, we know that this is a time of happiness. When we see logos of different companies and brands, we associate with those logos with those companies. When we see signs on the side of the road, we know that, for example, there's a speed limit, or the road bends, or there's a danger ahead, or there's animals around, and we know we have to be careful. In spirituality, we also have signs. So in religion, we also have dangers that people should be warned about. And these are basically the rulings we have of wajib, haram, and halal. These are all signs that there is a danger and you have to be careful. As soon as someone on the path of religion hears that something is wajib, he knows that there are things he has to do. And if he hears that something is haram, he knows he has to avoid. Otherwise, there is a danger for him ahead. So anyone who explains this kind of thing of religion to people, that there are wajibat, there are muharramat, there are things compulsory, there are things forbidden. Anyone who explains this to the people and warns them of these dangers is a signpost to avoid danger. He is an alam in his own right. He guides them towards guidance and towards protecting themselves. He tells them, have taqwa. But the Imams are the best a'lam at-Tuqa, and they are the real a'lam at-Tuqa. They are the real signposts and signs to guide and warn people that there are dangers ahead, and these are the signposts of piety, taqwa. Why? Because of 4 reasons, Agha Jawadi says. Number 1, we have different ulama, we have different people, we have different ashab of the Holy Prophet. They all may have said good things at some point. So do we say that they are the same as the Imams? No. Because the first point is that whoever and whatever they explain and however they guide people, they have learned it all from our Imams or the Holy Prophet in the first place. So they are not the source. They are just people who have heard things, they've understood things, they've read things, and they then give it to us. Our Maraji are in this category. They are brilliant, wonderful, genius people, but they can't be called at-Tuqa the way we say for Imams, for example. So the Imams are the ones who have learned this directly from Allah by way of the Holy Prophet and by way of each Imam after the other. They have never sat in any classes, they have never taken any courses, they don't need to read books for this. All their knowledge and their information and their guidance and their standing to represent piety comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number two, whatever any others have, whether it's an alim, a scholar, a sahabi, whatever anyone else has in terms of knowledge will still always be limited and incomplete. Even the great characters of history who were not the Imams, even Hazrat Salman, even Abu Dhar, and these kinds of people, their knowledge will still be limited and incomplete. They don't know everything. In fact, you could say they do not know far more than they know. Whereas the Imams, you can never say this. Imams have complete knowledge. Number three, the Imams, not only in their knowledge are they ma'soom, but also in their conduct. In their conduct also they are ma'soom, which then becomes a proof for us. And number four, they know the depths of the Holy Qur'an. The Holy Qur'an is also an alam of guidance. It's also an alam of taqwa. It also guides and signposts people of what they should do and how they should behave. It also warns them of the dangers, whereas others do not know the depths of the knowledge of the Holy Qur'an. Our Imams are unique in this regard. The Holy Prophet, we've just celebrated Eid al-Ghadir, Eid Mubarak to everybody. The Holy Prophet, he says that my Ahlul Bayt and the Book of Allah, lan yaftariqa, they will never be separated. So the Imams have that in-depth knowledge of the Holy Quran, whereas others certainly do not. Taking the discussion a bit further, there is always a connection between the sign and the origin. So when you see, for example, a mobile phone, you see a gadget with a particular logo, right? You immediately know that this object belongs to that company. It has come from that company. It has the seal of approval of that company. It bears the quality of that company. It represents that company. Like a phone, a tablet, a computer, a car. The moment you see a car with a symbol, you know, oh, that's one of that company's cars. Some people are the very embodiment of something else. So, for example, there are some people who are the very embodiment of kufr, disbelief, arrogance, pride. And when you hear their name, that's all you can think of. You can just think of kufr. Like what? Like, for example, Fir'aun. The moment I say Fir'aun, immediately your mind will think arrogant, proud, enemy of God, enemy of the Prophet, Prophet Musa, a disbeliever, kufr, shirk, announcing himself as God. The moment I say the name, you represent him with all of these negative things. And others are so much immersed in tawheed and worship and love of God that when you hear their name, you immediately associate them with God, godliness, piety, taqwa, iman, faith, etc. And if you stick with them, you cannot go wrong. Allah says in Quran 64, قَدْ كَانَتْ لَكُمْ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ فِي إِبْرَاهِيمَ وَالَّذِينَ مَعَهُ. For example, Nabi Ibrahim. The moment you hear Nabi Ibrahim's name, what do you think? You think of Tawheed, Allah, the one who was like the embodiment of oneness of God. Quran says there is certainly a good exemplar for you in Ibrahim and those who were with him. So the more you stick with these people, the more you will be guided, you will be signposted. They are the signpost towards Iman. You cannot go wrong, and they will protect you from all the dangers. Of course, whether we talk about the prophets and we talk about the Imams, all of these godly people, they have their own levels. The prophets are at one level, no doubt. The Imams are at the topmost level, and they are the best alams towards taqwa and all good things, all good piety, all things that represent Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because they represent Allah, they have a link with Allah, and when you are in their hands, you can feel 100% confident that you are going to be completely safe from dangers. Hence, to be linked with the Imams is a sign in itself of faith and piety. If you are linked with the Imams, you can be very, very confident that you are in safe hands. And if you act according to their teachings, then you can feel 100% confident that you are going to be completely safe. To be linked with them is faith and piety in itself. In the same way, if you have, na'udhu billah, hatred towards them, distance from them, a bad feeling towards them, then this is a sign of disbelief. It's a sign of hypocrisy and being far from faith and piety. Two hadiths to finish off. We have this hadith from the Holy Prophet himself, this one is from Amirul Mu'mineen himself, alayhi salatu wassalam. Amirul Mu'mineen says, if I was to take my sword and hit it onto the nose of a mu'min, so that he may have hatred and ill feeling towards me, he will never do this. And if I was to give the whole of the world and everything in it towards a hypocrite, a munafiq, so that he loves me and has some good feeling towards me, he will never do it. This is because this has been decided by Allah, and it was declared by the Holy Prophet, who said, Ya Ali, la yubghizuka mu'min wa la yuhibbuka munafiq. He declared, O Ali, a mu'min will never hate you and a munafiq will never love you. So based on this hadith, the love of Amir al-Mu'mineen is the criteria to judge the faith and hypocrisy of a person. The love of Amir al-Mu'mineen is one of these things that is definitely at-Tuqa. It is one of the signs of taqwa. The sign of taqwa is the love of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. In another hadith from Rasulullah this time, he says, on the day of judgment, there will be 4 people who are in an exalted status. They will be riding an animal. Okay, they'll have an exalted status amongst everyone else. He was asked, apart from you, who else could this be? He says, yes, it is me, and I will be riding upon Burak, my horse, my heavenly horse. There will be Prophet Saleh, who will be riding on the camel of Allah, that famous verse, Naqatallahi wa suqiyaha. He will be riding on the camel which Allah made one of his miracles and signs. There will be my uncle Hamza, who was in his time the lion of Allah, the lion of the Prophet of Allah, and Sayyid al-Shuhada, who will be riding upon my horse. And there will be my brother Ali, who will be riding upon a camel from the camels of heaven. When the rest of creation look at him, they will say, this person, meaning Amir al-Mu'mineen, this person must be either one of the exalted prophets or one of the close angels of Allah. And then a call will be made from the depths of the throne of God, and this will call out, this man is neither a close angel, nor is he an elevated prophet, nor is he one of those who carry the throne of God. This is Ali ibn Abi Talib, Wasiyyu Rasul Rabbil Alameen. He is the successor of the Prophet of the Lord of the worlds, wa Imamul Muttaqeen, and he is the leader of all of those who have taqwa. So he is truly the At-Tuqa, and he is one of the At-Tuqa. He is one of the signposts and signs towards piety. So we will leave our discussion here now, and inshallah we'll continue this in our next session. Our next session, inshallah, will be after the 10 days of Muharram, after Ashura. We will work on the date and we will announce it into the groups, inshallah. That was our brief discussion on the line at-Tuqa, which we will continue, inshallah, after Muharram. I wish you all a very beneficial and uplifting month of Muharram. It is the month of Aza, it's the month of Sayyid al-Shuhada. We remember his sacrifice. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Janab Fatima accept our Aza and our tears. and may they be of use for us in the life hereafter, inshallah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.